and welcome to ADHD Friendly. I'm Patty Blinderman. I am your host and the creator of ADHDfriendly.com. I invite you to check it out for some strategies and tools to support you to tilt the playing field and thrive with ADHD. So this is episode 114, 114. There is somebody walking across my yard. Interesting. I'm going to try to keep going. Not something I see very often. So I'm going to pause for a second. I'll be right back. Oh, it was a neighbor. All is well. So it was a little more than a squirrel. I do get squirrels outside my window pretty frequently, but not people. Okay, I'm back. Again, this is episode 114, 114. And as always, I will start this episode off with a celebration. And then I'm going to dive into an ADHD friendly tool and my topic. Both are tied to tolerations. All right, so I'm going to start though with my celebration. And it's another sock celebration. Those of you who have been following the podcast, and thank you, followers. Welcome. If you're new, welcome. If you've been here, thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited that more people are connecting with the podcast and finding hopefully something in it that you can take and use to create more ease in your life. So thank you and welcome. But I'm going to I'm going to start with my celebration that I'm making what I'm calling chicken socks. They're actually called chicken and egg socks. Not done yet. So I might in a future episode share the finished sock, but I'm making them for my son who's obsessed with socks. So I don't think he watches this. If you are listening to this, I invite you to check out my YouTube channel, ADHD Friendly. But if you look closely, they're little chickens. They're on the front and the back, and I'm so stinking happy with them. So these are made from the cuff down. And so you can see I've got my little heel here. I'm wearing blue, so it's totally matching my blue sweater. But I just love these so much. And when you're done, when you finish, it ends with a little yolk, like a yellow and white ending. So it looks like an egg. So it's like chicken and the egg. Oh my gosh, I love these things so much. They're just so cute. So my celebration is I got through the most difficult part, which was the chickens. The egg is just white and yellow yarn switched out at the end for the toe. And so that's really easy. So I've been wanting to do these for a while, and I'm really excited that I have the chickens themselves when they look like chickens. They look like chickens. Okay, so that's my celebration. Now on to my ADHD friendly tool, and it's also my topic for this episode. So I'm talking about tolerations. I have shared information on tolerations in the past, so I invite you to check out those episodes if you'd like more of a exploration into how I manage tolerations and how I approach tolerations in my life. But just really quickly to reconnect with what tolerations are. If you think about anything you're tolerating, tolerations by definition drain our energy. So we tolerate lots of things. Some things we can't change, like if we're sitting in traffic, there may not be much we can do about it. But deciding how you will manage that toleration will impact the energy you have for it. So if you sit and you get really frustrated and you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to impact everything. And you just start kind of catastrophizing and connecting to all the negatives that are coming, or all of those negative feelings that are coming from that sense of being stuck in traffic. It doesn't change the fact that you're stuck in traffic, but it does change the energy you have to deal with it and tolerate it. So sometimes when we're trying to tolerate something, it is just literally accepting there's nothing I can do to change this. And do I want to get frustrated and angry about it? Is that going to serve me, or do I want to come at that from a different way? But sometimes we can do something with tolerations, but we're not doing them and they continue to drain us. And often we aren't even aware that we're tolerating something. So I want to share a tool. It's a really quick tool that I just made, just a spreadsheet. You guys know, if you're a follower of ADHD Friendly, you know I love spreadsheets. So I'm going to hold this up. Again, if you're listening, check out my YouTube channel for all the visual examples. I just really quickly made a column for tolerations in blue, and then across the top are all of the different things that we can do to manage a toleration with more ease. So I just went across with the first thing you can do is just do it. So if it's possible to do it, go ahead and do it. Check it off. You can decline or delete it. It might be something that you have on your list and you keep looking at it and asking yourself to do it. And if you realize, okay, I don't really want to do it. Oh my gosh, deleting it can just give you a boost in your energy because it's no longer dragging you down as a toleration because you've decided it's not important to me. I'm not going to do it. Deciding what to do, literally going through here and deciding what is the thing I need to do to cross this off my list. Make a decision. Delegate it. Maybe it's not you, that's the solution to getting it done. Maybe you've been, I'll use like a car for an example. Maybe you've been intending to learn how to change your own oil so that you're not having to take it someplace else, but the oil needs to be changed and you don't really have time right now, or you're noticing you don't have as much interest to change your own oil as you thought you did. Delegate, get it done if it's possible to delegate it, so it's not all you expecting yourself to do it. Divide. By divide, I mean break it into steps. So maybe it's, oh my gosh, I need to clean out the garage. Maybe, but if you expect yourself to do it all at once, that overwhelm can stop you from doing any of it. So maybe break it into chunks, like just go around and collect things that you want to donate, or just clear out a cabinet or something. You just start with one thing. Discuss is one of my favorite ones, because if it involves somebody else or it's a problem that you can't figure out and you need to talk it through, discussing it can be a way forward. It might be, with the holiday season, pretty much, almost in the rearview mirror, what would you want to discuss with someone so that you're not repeating the same challenges that come up maybe every time you get together with a certain family member or a certain friend, so that you're having that open dialogue, if that's a possibility for your relationship, and exploring what would need to happen and what would it look like and what's the positive that can come from that. Maybe the relationship can evolve and grow beyond where it is, but it won't happen without that discussion. So discuss is another option. Maybe just assigning a due date, just saying, you know what, this needs to happen, but I'm gonna wait till the first quarter. I'm gonna, identify a weekend in February where I'm gonna do it. Assigning a due date, it keeps on your list, but it lets your brain know I've got a plan for it, so it's not draining you in the same way. And the last is with like my former example about traffic. Maybe you just have to deal with it and accept it if it's something you cannot change, and just deciding, you know what, it is what it is. Now, what am I going to do to tolerate it? Because I have to deal with it and accept it because I can't change it. So those are the different approaches. If you have another approach that I haven't mentioned, I would love to hear it, because anything that helps me to manage tolerations with more ease is something I am always looking for, because I've got a lot of them. Hello, friends. I'm ADHD Friendly Girl. Are you overwhelmed, unmotivated, run down? Do you stop before you start? The answer to your challenges can be found at ADHD Friendly. ADHD Friendly is where we make the doing easier. Join ADHD Friendly today and start tilting the playing field in favor of your ADHD brain and start thriving. ADHDfriendly.com, where intention meets action. So I wanted to just take my tool and share some personal examples from my current list of tolerations that I thought I would talk through and just give an example of what this could look like. Everybody has tolerations. Some of them are much bigger than others. Some of them are, but let's say you have like literally like a door sticks every time you open it, and there's no plan. It's just something you're tolerating. That's draining you every time you go to open that door. Having a plan allows you to manage that toleration. So I'm going to go through my list of things that I'm currently tolerating. Top of my list, something I've talked about in a recent episode: toilet paper shrinkage. Okay, I can't change it. I really thought about writing a letter to the company and kind of like maybe posting the size difference on social media and get some outrage going, because that's how I feel about it. And then I realized, do I really want to take my time, which is right now feeling very scarce, and my energy, and devote it to something that it could be funny? Like I could, approach it like something that I'm bringing humor to it, and that would build up some energy. But is it something I really want to put energy and structure behind? And I decided it wasn't. And so I am dealing with it. I'm not accepting it quite yet, like where I don't notice it, but I do every time, because I'm still not used to the smaller size of the toilet paper. As I shared, it's shrinking, literally. It's not as wide as it was. So every time I look at it, I literally have this like, what happened? What happened to the toilet paper? And so reminding myself that I've decided to just deal with it because I'm not going to take action is allowing me to conserve my energy, because I've decided that I'm going to deal with it. The next that I have is, I've had a lot of tech challenges I've shared as I was gearing up for the conference. And I made a list of who could I go to for help when. So I decided that's definitely a delegation thing. I don't have the bandwidth or the interest to learn the tech solutions that would need to happen for some of these. So I identified who I could delegate that to. So depending on what it is, I have a list that I can work from for who to ask for help when I need it. The next that is a growing toleration. I've talked about this on a previous episode on tipping. I'll have Becca put the number up because I cannot remember what the tipping episode number is, but I called it tip fatigue, which I've seen written. I'm sure I'm not the only person that thought of it, but it was literally how I was feeling when, as a result of the pandemic and everything shutting down, everything kind of went to tipping more and more often, and now in more places. And as everything was opening back up, that tipping just kind of kept growing and growing and growing. And so I've noticed now that I decided is what I did. I decided when I will tip, when I will not tip, and how much I will tip. So if I'm going to tip in certain situations that aren't like a sit-down restaurant, what my plan is for that. And it just is allowing me, because what would happen before was I get so uncomfortable if I was like decline, because the person's standing right there more often than not. And I don't think they're all that comfortable with that either. But if it's literally like a counter service and it's just the traditional interaction that I've always had and was never, culturally expected to tip in the past, unless something went above and beyond, I'm not tipping. And I'm not in my head about it. It's not I don't appreciate the service. I'm, mindful of being kind and connecting with that person, but I'm also aware, there's a finite level to financial resources, and I have a hard time keeping up with all of those little details. So it's also more ADHD friendly for my brain to have a plan and decide who, when, and where, and how much, and then I just follow my plan. So in that instance, I've decided, and it has created a lot more energy for me when I go out. Even when I'm with other people, I've had this conversation more recently when I was out with someone else. We paid separately, and it was counter order, and I didn't tip and they did. And I was not in my head because I was really genuinely curious about, tell me about that decision-making process for yourself. And it was really interesting that I was able to stay neutral and not kind of in a place of judgment. Squirrel literally just ran by. Okay. All right. My next toleration is my office clutter. Because of the conference, my office is in extreme disarray, and I will not have time to reset it for a little bit yet. So I decided to divide it into sections, and I'm only focusing on, I have a sofa against a wall in here that is just covered with things. And I'm like, I'm going to clear the sofa because that drains me, because I like to sit there and journal and think. And I can't right now. So I decided I will focus on the sofa, and I'll focus just on the counter where I had all of the stacks of things I was working on for the conference, so that I can get those organized and put away and kind of clear the decks somewhat, not the whole office, just those two parts. So I divided it and identified what to do. Toxic people. I have a approach to this that I'm still experimenting with, and that is to just say no. And so toxic people can come at me through media, and it's just no, I will not read it. I will not engage with it. I don't want to see anything that is triggering for me in terms of, that toxic energy that some people kind of thrive on putting it out there. But it also is people. So I notice, if I'm going somewhere and somebody will be there that I have a really hard time not taking in that energy, and it impacts me, I will just say no, because it's not worth it to me to drain my energy. I want to intentionally be around people that build it up. So when I leave, I'm feeling more energized afterwards, not less energized. Okay. And then if that showed up on the video, more energized. Thumbs up. That was weird. The one just showed up on my screen. I'll be really curious, guys, if that shows up for you guys, if you're watching this. It's a little bit of a toleration. I'm noticing because I don't know what it was and why it showed up. Okay. Right now, my kitchen is not acceptably clean. There is dog hair pooling in the corners on the floor. I have 3 dogs. They all shed immensely. And it only takes about 24 hours for there to start being a little pile up. And I have not swept that floor in days. So it's a critical mass. There's just dog hair. Sorry, I know. It's one of those areas that I struggle with keeping up with. And so again, I'm using the divide. I'm breaking it into tasks. So I'm gonna, not ask myself to clean the entire kitchen. I'm just gonna maybe, start Swiffering. And then I can decide if I'm gonna move to the next thing on the task, which is, I like to do a little like cleaning of the sink. The sink is almost always empty, but it doesn't mean it doesn't get, some food and stains on it. So I love a clean sink. So if you clean up the floor in the sink, that usually creates more energy for me to do other things in the kitchen. So I've targeted those first 2. Holiday tasks, like cleaning up things. I've just set due dates for when I'm going to have all the holiday things packed up and put away. And, I have time to actually do it. So I have one thing for discussion that I checked, and that's a conversation with somebody who I'm noticing an obstacle to our relationship moving beyond where it is. And so I have decided to have a discussion. It's not going to be an easy discussion, but it is a necessary discussion, because I also know that if we aren't open with the people in our lives who mean enough to us to do that, we will stay stuck. We're not going to grow and develop that relationship into a stronger, more deeper, more fulfilling one. And it's worth it to me to do that. So for this person, so I'm going to have that discussion. The next is, I'm thirsty. So as I was writing out the list, I was like, just do it. And I just went and got myself some fresh water, nice and cold. I'm very temperature sensitive. I will not drink water if it's not ice cold, which was really hard when I went to Europe, but that's a side discussion. And then my last was, I had a light bulb that was burnt out in my bathroom, and there was one of only, well, actually there's 4 lights, but there's 2 around the kitchen, or the 2 around the bathroom vanity, and 2 in the ceiling. And one of the ones in the ceiling was burnt out, and it was the one in the ceiling above the sink, and then the other one above the toilet was burnt out. So it felt like half the bathroom was really dark and the other half was really light. And it's been burnt out for at least 3 or 4 weeks. Like I'd say, give it a month, it's been out. And so I just decided to put the light bulbs on the counter, because I know if I saw the light bulbs, it would remind me to change the light. And it did. I did it. So that one's checked off. I changed it. So that's how I go through my tolerations list. I kind of do like a brain dump where I list everything I'm tolerating, and then I look at the options and check the one that makes sense. And then if it's another question, like the tech challenges, I'm like, delegate. Okay, but to who? I write that I can stay stuck if I just decide to delegate it, but I haven't decided who or where to delegate it. So I invite you to explore. Maybe it's not a spreadsheet, maybe it's a list, maybe it's just talking it through with someone and then capturing what you decide to do. But when we talk about tolerations and things that drain our energy, I'm always refining what I'm doing and how can I do it even better, so that I'm not getting as drained by the things in my life that I'm tolerating. So as always, if you have something that you do to manage your tolerations with Maurice, I would love to hear about it, because we all learn from each other. All right, it's that time. Before I recap, I'm just going to share my quote from Kevin Kelly and his Excellent Advice for Living book. And this one, again, it resonates with the theme for this podcast episode. So Kevin says, efficiency is highly overrated. Goofing off is highly underrated. Regularly scheduled Sabbaths, sabbaticals, vacations, breaks, aimless walks, and time off are essential for top performance of any kind. The best work ethic requires a good rest ethic. Oh, I picked this because when I was going through my tolerations list, so much of it is tied to the busyness of this time of year. And it was just a reminder of how important it is to rest, to keep knitting my chicken socks, sit by the fire, look for snow, those things that are my favorite this time of year, read a good book to get inspiration, keep focusing on the rest part to charge up my batteries. So I'm tolerating things with more ease. I'm getting more things checked off, and I'm thriving with ADHD. All right, my quick recap. I invite you just to explore what you're tolerating and how you can get your tolerations managed with more ease, and capture what that is. So when you decide what it is, where are you going to put that so you remember what you decided? Because remember, our brains don't always show up to support our future selves with those connections that we made when we decided them. That's it for this episode. As always, I invite you to take what works for you, leave the rest behind. If you would like to post anything in reference to this episode, it is episode 114. I would love to hear what worked for you, what you learned, what you do that we can benefit from learning from you. And if you haven't already followed the podcast, I would love to have you join us, and just do a quick little click to follow. And until next time, this is the last time in 2023. I'll see you in 2024. Tally ho.